to be a co-op run between Scynor and Tfresh. Pretty exciting P53. We have not seen a run of this category, I believe, since LEGOthon 2021, I think, where Scynor did a run with Los. So I'm
Yeah,
definitely
it's been a
excited.
while.
And we are about to head into the first level. It's going to be 3-1. Normally you'd start on 3-3 in this category, but in the context of a marathon, we're going to be starting on 3-1, and that'll be a nice uh, way to get into the run because there's a lot of cool tech in that first level that we're going to look at.
Yeah, I guess. Do you know why they're waiting right
I
now?
think we just started, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But here we go, and an interesting thing that you already saw is that he selected Croc in the Batcave. And that is for a couple reasons. We'll see that later in this room, but we're going to start out with some action very early on. And the first thing that you'll notice is the heat suit Batman is Scynor. And the reason he's the heat suit is because he is a really, really helpful suit that you get in free play that allows you to essentially insta-batarang kill everyone. And what we're going to see in a second here is the reason he picked the Croc. If you look over on the left side of your screen, we're going to see Scynor doing what is called a PCC. I think that stands for Penguin Croc Clip or something like that. But essentially, you switch from one character to Killer Croc in free play and Alt Tab between that, and that'll let you clip through walls. And so we'll see that quite a few times during the run. But
Yeah,
that is going to help us get our first Minikit here.
yeah, that sort of tech is also seen in other Lego games, but like the characters you use are different. Like in TCS, you can do like Grievous, like effectively the same kind of a trick. But you just saw Seymour cleaning up the goo there. He's gonna have to bring the cart over to the other room later on to finish up that kit. But yeah, going over to some of these side rooms as well to complete some of these mini kits as well.
Yeah, and one big thing that you're seeing is the usage of, well, Tfresh, I guess. And, Scynor obviously has record in the solo category, but we saw Tfresh's, you know, movement being very helpful earlier by pushing that goo vacuum machine or whatever. And we're going to see that a lot more, especially with just pushing vehicles. What we'll notice, I think, sort of through the run is how many kits there are that are just get inside of a vehicle and drive around in a circle, essentially. And so having someone to push that vehicle, because vehicles are typically slower than regular characters, can be super helpful, and we're seeing that right now once again.
Yeah, it's actually very crucial also to overlap certain tasks. In the first room, you saw actually, I forgot which character did it, but they were overlapping both putting one character at the door and one character doing the vacuum cleaner, like objective there with the off in the corner there. And that's, I guess, one of the advantages of co-op is that you can potentially have more control in these like two-player sections to do more advanced movement. But co-op, I think in general, is both like a benefit and a hindrance because it also means that you're gonna have to coordinate your movement together and make sure no character gets too far ahead of another. Because if you get your characters too far away in co-op, you can start running into issues where your characters like pull on different sides of the camera and it really screws up your movement.
Yeah, and I guess one thing I didn't even mention is, I mean, in free play, one of the biggest advantages is not just that you get every character, but that you get every suit. And so you see right now what Scynor is doing is called SSJing. And if you watched DeHamster's run earlier this event, I believe it was on Friday, he probably talked about this tech, but SSJing is essentially infinite flight. And by getting the Slam Extra, it's a suit upgrade, I think. That allows you to do essentially a slam while you are gliding with the suit. And like any game, any Lego game with slams, you can cancel that to get some extra height and repeat it infinitely. Another thing he just did there was an upwarp into a kit, and the upwarp is done pretty simply. It's by switching characters when you're under a floor, but not on top of a floor. And so by doing that, he's able to go below where the kit is and then upwarp into it because you cannot fall down onto it. So that's some of a basic overview of some of the tech you'll be seeing throughout the run. A lot more SSJing, some gliding, and it's fair to say that about 90% of the gameplay performed in free play categories in this game is glide suit Batman.
Yeah, the combination of like SSJ for Infinite Flight plus the glide suit really is like one of the most powerful free play movement combos, like probably in any Lego game, to be honest. Like,
You kind of just skip everything.
yeah, and it really makes for what I think is like a very fast paced category because everything now is just about moving like directly to the mini kits for most
For
of like.
sure. Now, conversely, problem with this game is that you can't really skip like any of the mini kits. You can lag grab some of them. You can SSJ into rooms early, but then you get stuff like this kit where you just have to do it. The other side of the coin is that it's kind of nice that you don't have to hit stuff like the end trigger in this room, because of the nature of a category like Minikit Rush. You get rid of a lot of the really, really difficult end triggers that you have to hit, or some of the more tedious boss fights, and it sort of allows you to have less downtime overall. In a category like Minikit Rush, you just go kit to kit to kit, and you can just end the level, which is what we are about to do right here.
With mini kit rush, the only objective is to just get the mini kits, then save and exit. So often, like as you saw there, we're gonna be skipping the boss fights as well. And like Zach said, any of the difficult tricks we might do in an any percent run to skip those sections, we can just avoid by save and exit.
And unfortunately, the only notable thing about this next level is that we can't do a skip. Um, Actually, sorry, no, wait. We're doing 3-2 first. Yeah, okay. Different route. So this level actually is interesting. 3-3 is a little bit of a snooze fest because it's a vehicle level. And vehicle levels in this game tend to be really, really slow, especially in this category. This level, though, is actually quite cool. And we start with an extended 1v2c, which in this case is two players, two controllers. But you saw Scynor go over there and grab that kit and then drop back in. That's another free play tech, I guess we didn't really mention. It's hard to call it a tech, but in free play, you do not drop in where your character is. You drop in where the player that you are active is. And so that allows you to get your character unstuck a lot of the time from certain spots. And as Tfresh grabs this kit, we are seeing Scynor set up for a PCC through this wall. This is I wouldn't call it a newer strat, but the older strat was much slower. It involved SSJing all the way over the wall. And this camera's going to make the PCC a little awkward, but Scynor is able to get it. This room also pretty straightforward, but we will see in the next room, some relatively interesting stuff. You'll see it probably a part of the room you've probably never seen before, because most people just play the end fight. But this mini kit with the teacups, the depth perception can be a little weird, as
Yeah.
he exemplifies that pretty clearly.
And you're gonna see them, I think. Actually, yeah, once they get through this transition here, yeah, they're gonna completely bypass the normal area that you usually see the Harley Quinn fight and just go directly there. First, we gotta do a Lego Classic, which is a color matching puzzle. Lego really loves their color puzzles for mini kits, especially. I guess it's one of the only options you have when you want to make like a kid-friendly puzzle. You always got to make sure the kids learn their colors, and that's what Scynor and Tfresh are doing right there.
Yep, and that's the kind of stuff you learn in business school. It's very nice to see Seynor's education paying off. I will say it is actually pretty cool what Tfresh was doing there. Was pushing the boats to sort of task overlap and actually push the yellow boat into the thing before Scynor was even able to control it. And then we get another kit that's essentially the same kind of thing, right? It's like get on top of this vehicle and just drive into another thing. Because Batman just loves doing that. They love their vehicles. But like you said, we end the level by going over to this, I don't know, circus platform thingy on the right, and we don't even see the end fight, which is home of cycle skips, Scenor's like favorite trick in this game.
That bumper car section was actually particularly fast. I think normally you would just
Yeah,
do it with one player, but with two players there, they can really just gang up on those three like Joker minions and end that very quickly. Uh,
and VSync is on here to avoid crashing. Just so you guys know, you are being warned. There's a chance of crashing in this level. Just thought I'd mention because it could totally happen. But I think they're gonna try and avoid crashing by essentially shooting a few guys so that they only leave a couple. and so it won't spawn a new pack of I think they're like, I don't even know what they are. It's helicopters, small helicopters. You'll see them right here. It's the Joker's helicopters. Looks like. So you see they're shooting most of them, leaving some of them alive, and then this is what I was talking about with the trick that you can't do, which is billboard skip. As you can see, we're blowing up the billboard. This is immensely slow, but you do actually have to do this in this category. Normally, you do a drop and warp past this billboard, and it would allow you to save, I mean, upwards of 10 seconds, I believe. We're also going to
Yeah, you
see Scynor do a roll here, and Tfresh fails it, which doesn't actually end up losing that much time, but is funny because Scynor was explaining to me how that trick works. It's one of those small things where doing a roll allows you to get past a forced sort of movement option that it makes you do a backflip, as you see it happen to Tfresh there again. Don't totally know why, but... And this bomb is needed for the very, very end of the room. So, you know, we're going to be holding on to this one for a while.
Unfortunately, having to do all the turrets in this section is really slowing down the gameplay here, like Zach
Yeah.
said. But yeah, gonna take this bomb here all the way to this final section there. Player 2 collecting a mini kit on the way. Yeah, this game is interesting, I guess, in that it has a lot of vehicle levels, and they're like all in like in a quite a lot of variety of settings. Like you have boat levels, you have your street levels, and you have these like flying levels. They're really mechanically they're all pretty similar. Uh, I guess it beats the variety you might see in like TCS with just like all ship levels, pretty much.
Right. And I think the one thing that we'll see that stands out is Batboat Battle, which we will see in episode 2. That will have some tech in it, and that'll be a more interesting one, which is surprising because it's usually people call it the most boring level in really any other category, but I think in this one it's actually probably the most interesting vehicle level, in my opinion. I don't know. They're honestly not too bad. But
I
this
do,
one is definitely the slowest. You're about to find
yeah,
out
I
why.
mean, I do want to ask Zach, because have they improved the vehicle controls in this game compared to some of the earlier Lego games?
Honestly, I think the vehicle controls in this game are pretty tough. Specifically, I don't know if it has to do with the vehicles, but more so the towing stuff, like in Bappo Battle and even in this level. As you can see, like the physics of the actual objects that you're carrying are so much harder to control, and you'll see very often people missing throwing bombs in Bappo Battle, for example. And, you know, that has to do with obviously both the characters and the objects that they're controlling, but you know, when you get to a level like this, I'm just gonna say you're not exactly thrilled because it can be very, very awkward. I would say the one level that's not as bad is the one in episode 1, which we will see, obviously, when we get there. And that one, I think, is a lot less of an issue. I think it's called Two-Face Chase, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's the one I think on the street level, I believe.
Yes, and so that level, it's not really as bad. You also get some cool tech in that level, so that one's interesting. But yeah, overall, definitely, I'd say vehicle levels are not a fan favorite by the speedrunning runner base.
Well, luckily we are out of that vehicle level and we're on to the next level. Zach, what do you have to say about the level coming up?
So this level is pretty interesting. You'll actually get a lot of things happening at once, and so it's going to be pretty fast paced. We'll try to keep you guys updated with what's going on. But this will be I don't know if whoa. Okay, yeah. So I was gonna say this is a level where he will need Killer Croc as his other player, and of course this is for the purpose of PCCs, I believe, just to make them a little bit faster. And you'll see why very, very soon. I think it's actually like right here. But he's going to start out by SSJing behind this room so that he can grab this kit with it's called the Sonic suit. And Tfresh will jump into this room, and that'll cue the Killer Moth cutscene. So they actually don't want to kill him early this time, and you'll again see why. But Tfresh is going to drop out here, and he will not. Actually, I think he was trying to not cue that cutscene, but I'm not entirely sure. Either way, it's just a small time loss if you do. But Scynor is probably going to take care of the rest of the room here by himself, just because now Tfresh is stuck in that room. And you will
Yeah, we
see Scenor's prowess paying off.
Yeah, you did see earlier, was it both Scynor and Tfresh doing SSJs? Sometimes they can just, depending on like how the level is, only one player needs to SSJ to the next section. Sometimes it's two. Here I guess Scynor is the one just doing it. Gonna build that final thing right there, and while P2 comes up here to position themselves.
Yeah, and this room is probably the most entertaining one in the level. Once we get into the next room, it becomes a bit of a Robin piece collection simulator again. But essentially, the one thing they have to not do is, well, actually, I think it's pretty low risk in this room because you're probably going to get all the pieces. I think what they will do, though, is you can see both of them are collecting pieces. And so what that'll allow them to do is input pieces into the dispenser at the same time. Because actually the way that this game handles piece collection is that as long as 25 pieces are deposited into the dispenser, then you're good. And you'll see they'll both be able to put them in at the same time. And it's actually going to collect them independently. You saw that I forget who. I think Scynor had only 10 pieces compared to Tfresh's 15, so he was finished first. So that's just an interesting mechanic because most LEGO games, any sort of, I don't know what you would call it, like panel or whatever, interactable circle, you usually can't use that with more than one player at once.
I'm gonna see it climb up here to the top section. Gonna drop in there. Oh, and
Wow,
yeah, that's
I've never seen that. That's not good. Oh, okay, well, there you go. That's a time save. I don't know how that just happened, but that was weird.
yeah. But yeah, intending to drop in on that top section there, and now you're just gonna see Scynor just SSJing over here to blow up to get that kit. Some more movement here. Going off. Luckily, these are all exposed kits, so these are the ones where it's all just about the movement to the kit.
And the kits in the next room are also pretty simple. There's, I think one kit that he'll have to go very far into the room to get, and that's going to be like upright of this. He's going to have to use the Sonic suit to open this. You'll see he'll go in here and grab this kit. But doesn't have to do this boss fight, which is not only a long one, but kind of a tricky one. So that's a nice thing about this level. He's just waiting for the kit to spawn in, and he grabs it, ends the level, and now we will start to see a trend of, for the most part, not even entering the last room of the level for the majority of the levels left in the run. That's not necessarily the case for 3-5, which is the upcoming level, but most of the ones after that, you'll see them start to just be able to skip the last room. And the big one for the most important kit that is spread out the most in this room one is going to be a kit where you have to grab 3 gargoyles. And so they're going to have to break 3 of those. The first one's going to be on the left, and then you'll see it. It's up there on top of that sort of tower. The top of the tower, if you will.
Well, not quite at the top of the tower.
Yeah, not quite. The middle of the tower, you might say. But, that's not as catchy of a name. I think if they had named it that, someone would have had some questions.
Yeah, one thing you're seeing them doing that I guess we didn't like explicitly mention is a lot of the times like they can just walk into a wall and like lag to get a kit that's like slightly behind the wall, and as long as the kit is close enough to the wall there, you're usually able to collect it through the wall. But you can't do that on every kit, obviously. So on those ones, they have to go and either spawn them in or use whatever appropriate suit is necessary.
Yeah, and that'll be the third gargoyle collected, so they can leave the room now. And like you said, that kind of works the same way that this does, where lagging will just allow your hitbox to just clip into the object that you're in front of just a little bit. That's really all you need if you want to lag grab a kit.
Can I swoop in with a quick donation?
Yeah, for sure.
Fantastic. We have $70 donated by Core, saying in all caps, Lego Batman Hero Free Play break the record! Exclamation mark. Thank you very much for that donation, Core. That is also going towards the Lego Star Wars The Complete Saga Free Play Red Brick incentive, which brings that up to a total of $227 out of a possible 300. That means Saber has got to collect 9 of the 12 red bricks so far. Remember, every increment of $25 we collect there will be another red brick that Saber has to collect. So keep the donations coming in for that.
Thank you, Paxo. And yeah, make sure you guys donate. Obviously, we will keep the incentive open during the run, but you won't have too much time, so get those donations in now while you can.
Here we are, and there she goes again, the Catwoman level, in I think episode 2. I guess one thing to mention about this game is that while the majority of the mini kits we are collecting are like standard mini kits, there are like some weird mini kits that we might collect later on, or they at least are technically allowed by the category rules, and those are like weirdly like placed out of bounds mini kits. Technically, according to the game's rules, you can for mini kit rush you just need to collect 10 mini kits, and sometimes there are more than 10 mini kits in a level. So we might be seeing
Yeah,
some of that later on.
and essentially the reason that's the case is because what you're actually collecting is 1/10 of a mini kit, and when you get 10 mini kits, you unlock a quote unquote mini kit. So as long as you get 10 and you unlock the prize for collecting all of them, then it's hard to disallow that. We see Tfresh grabbing this very, very long and extended journey to get this mini kit. He has to take this cart essentially all the way over from the left side of the room to get that one. And Scynor is going to go into this out of bounds area, and he's not going to be able to switch characters again, I think. So yeah, Tfresh will have to call in, and he'll grab this mini kit down in the water as soon as Tfresh pulls this lever. That'll allow Scynor to head to the end of the room, because we are now done with this first room, which is sort of the most complicated room in the run. There's a lot going on. There's 5 mini kits, but at the end of the day, these runners know what they're doing, and the multitasking might look complicated, but they're definitely pretty used to it.
Yeah, honestly, they're handling it quite well from what I'm seeing so far.
Yeah. It's definitely, like, I haven't seen anything really go too poorly so far. Obviously, Tfresh is not as experienced in this game or category as Scynor is, but Tfresh, one of the few people who knows the route of this category really at all, so, probably an ideal choice for Scynor's co-op partner here. I don't know if anyone would be able to do it any better at the moment.
I mean, also helping them is the fact that they do not have to play over net play latency. Also, they are doing this in person, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. I mean, we just saw there Tfresh struggling with some SSJs, and he's not a Batman free play runner, so they are pretty tough, but that's why he's doing as much of the stuff that doesn't really require SSJing as possible, because it is a little bit of a tricky tech. You see the way that Scynor's doing it, like, most people can't do it that fast, and that's what sets Scynor apart so much in all the free play categories in this game. But enough rambling about that, because we're about to see some cool mini kits coming up in this essentially next 2 rooms of the next level. And 2-2 is a cool one. It's just going to have a lot of task overlapping, but you'll see some tech that you might not expect in a level with boats. So that may be unexpected for those who have not seen like a free play run, for example. And we'll see how well Tfresh can play this level, because I think if you're not like a super experienced runner with this game, myself included, I always found this as one of the hardest levels to move around in.
Yeah, like Zach said, the vehicle movement in this game, plus all of these towing segments, are very, very tricky.
In case you were wondering where the first minikit is, the game will let you know. It does have a lot of those sort of camera pans just to show you where the kits are. It does make it a little bit easier if you've never seen this category.
Yeah, unfortunately, and maybe fortunately for the audience, Scynor has chosen not to enable the mini kit detector extra, which would put arrows over every mini kit on the screen.
Yeah, unfortunately, it also puts arrows over everything required to get a mini kit, which is, I think, a little bit much. sometimes. In
Yeah.
some rooms, it's like you see 15 arrows. So you see Scynor and Tfresh working together to take that boat down. Pretty epic battle there.
Can I jump in again real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. We have another $50 from our very own LEGO Racers runner, Jamie Boy, after that incredible LEGO Racers run. And the message says, since the support was so incredible during my run, I decided that my 2 lap skip mistakes will now require 2 extra red bricks for the Star Wars incentive instead. You all are amazing. And that indeed brings the Star Wars red brick incentive up to $277 out of $300. We're just $23 away from Saber having to collect all 12 of the red bricks. So far, he will have to collect 11 of them. But yeah, back to you
If you want to
guys.
see the Dooku red brick guys, donate $23, I guess. I
Yeah,
consider
yeah.
it worth it.
In all seriousness, like, thanks a lot to all the viewers who are donating so much in this past day. You know, we definitely. I don't know what our total was at the start of the day, but we've certainly have
Yeah, it
made
was
great
something
progress.
like a 1,050 or so, and yeah, obviously the Lego Racers run was a huge hit. So really appreciate that, Jamie, and everyone who donated during that run. Really fun to watch as well. What maybe was less fun to watch was Tfresh and Scynor struggling to hit that bomb into the gate for about a minute earlier in this level. But it's a good thing that Paxo was reading a donation during that. You
All
know,
strategically
that
planned.
was exactly sort of what I was talking about with the you know, the targeting and the movement mechanics. It's just so tough. But we do see a cool sort of 1P2C in the end room. Again, I keep saying 1P2C, but I mean 2P2C, we'll call it. And it's just for these last 2 kits here. Again, one of the few levels where you do actually have to kind of play the end room, but not really, because you don't actually have to kill the penguin's, you know, ship, submarine, whatever the thing is. So there's our first one, and Scynor will need to drag this bomb all the way over to the end to get the 10th kit. Now,
And with that,
this is the level that you were sort of alluding to earlier, right?
well, yeah, 2-3 is under the city, yeah, and I think this is the level that has one of those out of bounds mini kits, if I remember correctly.
Right. And we will see that as a room 3, room 2. I think it's room 2.
Yeah, we'll get to it when
Yeah.
it comes up, but
But the first room, you do see some interesting stuff. We start out by taking advantage of the penguin, who has a bomb that can explode this door. Just one of the benefits of free play. You get stuff like that where normally in story and even, you know, in free play, you would not do that, but in this category we will. So we want both players to come through. And this is where we grab the out of balance mini kit, I believe. And you see it just floating there. Did he get it? Looks like he wasn't able
he's
to
going back around for it.
grab it. Yeah, that's a hard one to get. Obviously, as you can see, the camera's not meant to be here. So he's struggling a little bit to get the kit. And I believe you can't SSJ in this area, so he has to glide into it. This game does have some weird mechanics in the sense that in some places you actually just can't SSJ at all. And Scynor will PCC out of here. I'm not sure where you're supposed to PCC out of here. You can kind of do it anywhere in this room, but he's just picking a spot and trying to get out. I think you don't want to get stuck in here. Ideally, like, you just die when you hit that, but he does get out eventually, and that'll allow him to just go ahead and end this room by hitting another out of bounds transition, which isn't really out of bounds. It's just behind the door, but the door has not yet been opened. And we get to see an upwarp. I don't know if... I mean, this isn't our first upwarp of the run. He actually does miss it, but it's a backup with a lag grab there. But yeah, upwarps, once again, showing how free play can just save so much time over stuff like story when grabbing these mini kits. and then again with the penguin and the bomb at the end of the room.
Yeah, up warp specifically, you need a swap in order to get the character to snap up to the top floor, and that's present in like most of these earlier Lego games with free play.
That was a really far away lever pull from that lever. I'm very surprised he got that one off. It's interesting because I think you mentioned this to me one time. I don't know if it's exactly the same in this game, but usually the white circles they have around things like helmets and, you know, maybe even suits or levers are usually not actually the hitbox that we're working with. Usually it's not directly lined, and that'll allow you to do some stuff like pull levers weirdly, like backwards and from
Oh
places you
yeah,
shouldn't be able to.
yeah. It all depends on like how the game decided to place the circle, and there's obviously like a pretty big tolerance, you know, for these sorts of things. But yeah, with that level out of the way, we're now going into, I guess, one of my favorite levels, mainly because I guess it's contains quite a lot of animals. It's Zoo's Company.
And Zoo's Company has a crazy first room. We're already getting into it here, but there's one kit over here on the right, and we're going to need to be collecting these pieces for what you can imagine is another kit. We're going to come down and we're going to build a boat here to get into the lake. That'll be pretty self-explanatory in a second as soon as I start doing it.
Yeah, this is another one of those move around with a vehicle and like hit X amount of objects sort of things. Here you're hitting all these little buoys in the lake. And yeah, pretty much the other character just has to wait around here. Nothing really to overlap.
Yeah, that is where the kit spawns, so that is why he is waiting right there. And now we're going to see a strat that I believe is not even in Solo Record, so this is kind of a cool thing here. He's going to deposit some of those pieces, and Scynor will take care of the rest. Tfresh will blow this up top to get these two kits, and then Tfresh will actually PCC out of the room. So I think that's the first Tfresh PCC of the run, but it's a cool time save. Otherwise, you'd have to normally exit the room and break the door in the main room. And it's just a lot of task overlap here. Not really much to see yet.
Yeah, but coming up, actually, I guess you get to see some of these animals I alluded to earlier. Like, I don't know, do these lions show up in like any other Lego game? The elephants here are in like Lego Indiana Jones, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's lions anywhere else. But this is one of the few Lego games where you do get real, well, I mean, they're not real, but you get actual animals, right, that are interactable and can move. So it is quite interesting. If you're an animal fan, I guess this might be your favorite level. Maybe not your favorite room, though. This is quite a long one.
Yeah, the kits are just all over the place, just like all on the edges of the room, and it's just like a huge room.
Yeah, and we're seeing this is why co-op is so fast, because of stuff like this, where both runners can SSJ at the same time. That looked like a... Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say with that end room, I've always wondered why is it so bright. I guess because the rest of the level isn't that bright. Like
it's true. I mean, the whole room is, or the whole level is outside. Maybe it's a different time of day.
So I guess like, is it that when they get to that room, it's like already daytime or something?
Yeah, well, logically, right? Like, let's say you get to the first room in the morning. I mean, it's gonna take you time to get through the rooms. So maybe there is like an inherent daylight cycle to that level. You'd have to, I guess, watch the movie to know. Except you couldn't, because I don't think that's actually in the movie. It is weird because like a lot of the stuff in Lego Batman specifically is not actually based on anything. Like these aren't like actual like scenes or like things that happen in any of the movies. They just kind of take villains and make, you know, things that the villains reside in, and then that's just they make a level out of it.
Yeah. I have been informed that there apparently is a lion in Lego Indiana Jones 1 in one of the bonus levels.
Interesting. Well, this level is I think the second shortest level in the entire run. It's very fast. You can already see how many kits they've gotten. It's going to move pretty quickly. There's one more over here, and then Scynor will get one down here before we enter the next room. Or not. I don't know. I guess he was just... I thought maybe he did. Because I think you enter with 5 or 6. Also a 2-room level, so not really too much to see here. But we'll just have to progress around the room.
Yeah, I think this map does have like a side room technically, but yeah, there's only 2 maps for this like entire level.
Yeah. I guess you do enter with 4, so there are 6 in this end room here, which is pretty crazy. But, you know, normally in any percent in free play, you would be done with this level already. So we're going to spend quite a bit of time in this boss fight room here, despite the fact that we will not even be fighting Penguin or Catwoman. Looks like Catwoman's trying to fight us, though. That is just how this boss fight works. And this is the side room you were talking about. Okay. I think they missed a kit. Am I wrong? I feel like that was 9. I'm pretty sure that was 9. Did I miss something?
Yeah, wait, I guess I'll have to...
Is that
They'll
watching?
probably check it, I think.
They'll probably just go back in if they...
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, so it looks like
Yeah, there it
Seed
goes.
is saying they may have missed a carrot. So I think what happened is I was actually correct. I think Scynor was trying to get a kit in this first room, and Tfresh just accidentally went into the next room. Or may have gotten pushed by the enemies into the next room. The thing about LEGO Batman is that the enemies can really move you around in this game.
Yeah, they really chose to like spam a ton of enemies in some sections.
You see, we were very close to getting that kit. It was very, very close. So that's unfortunate. I mean, that's like the first real big time loss we've seen, but for the most part, it's actually been a pretty solid run so far.
And with that, like we've closed out episode 2. There's just one left, which is the first episode.
Yeah, which is it's like an action-packed episode. You will get a lot of stuff here.
Of course, you know, in these free play sort of categories, you can really choose to do the episodes sort of in any order that you want. So this would normally be the first level of an any percent run, but we're doing it here pretty much close to the end.
We start out with a kit on the left. There's going to be another one up here. They will grab. And what's interesting about 1-1 is you'll sort of notice, I don't know how else to explain it, but you'll notice that this is pretty clearly the first level they designed, with how they put the minikits in the level. You see they're all just sort of sitting around, right? There's no crazy stuff you have to do. This one is not involved either. It's just down here. And so this level is going to feel so fast because of how much you're doing in how little time. Once again, minikit just up here. You just grab it. We still haven't seen a, you know, ride the bumper cars, drive the goo machine type of kit. And, you know, dare I say, it's probably more fun to play for them. But, you know.
Well, it fits the spirit of Minikit Rush, I guess, a lot more.
Yeah, and you see we've already gotten 7 here, and we're about to get 8 because there is one right here that he will upwarp into. He's trying to switch to player 2. He does get the switch off. That can be a finicky one sometimes. But like I said, I mean, this is just a fast-paced level. This feels very grunt percent-esque of a mini-kit rush level. It's very fast-paced. It's a lot of just going from point A to point B, and not any crazy stuff. And that's, I think, why it's my favorite level in this category to watch.
I guess as like a side note, I'm curious, Zach, since we are talking, I guess, about minikit categories, what is your favorite minikit in a LEGO game?
Ooh, my favorite minikit in a LEGO game. You know, honestly, I think that's a pretty easy answer for me. I would probably pick the Womp Rat minikit in Spaceport in LSW2 and TCS. That is just a good one because you get the experience of like a mini game, which is pretty uncommon, and it's not like a boring mini. You actually get to shoot at the Womp Rats. You know, it's not like the yeah, like there's like the duck mini game in Batman. That one's not good. That one is in Little Fun at the Big Top, I believe.
Yeah. I think mine's is the window washer in DSC, also in TCS.
That's also a good one. It's weird though, you don't actually have to wash that whole window.
Yeah. It's interesting, I guess, when we get to see some of these categories as opposed to any percent at a LEGOthon, because really, I would say most of the charm of these games is in like sort of the interesting mini kit, designs that they decided to do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's like the majority of the game, right? Like when you think about the actual content, there's a reason an all mini kits run will usually triple the length of an any percent run. So most of the content that they design in these games is for the mini kits. Unfortunately, it also you can't really skip anything in most of these levels with the mini kits, and that does make them feel a lot slower. But it can make for some cool 1P2C that I think you don't really get to see as much in Batman any percent. You come over to where the hostage normally is. You
Yeah,
may
this
have
is
seen
just
that earlier in the Hamster's Run.
oh yeah, this is just one of those like I don't think you see this as much like TCS. Just these like huge rooms with like a ton of things just in like one room. Like I think
Oh
there's like
yeah,
6 mini kits in like this one room alone.
yeah. And I mean, it seems like there's less rooms in general than most Grunt Percent games, but the rooms are very, very big. Again, like I said, this is, it's the second level they designed. And so, of course, the mini kits are probably going to be a little more straightforward than some of the ones we saw in episode 3, for example.
Yeah, in any percent, this level would have a lot of interesting jumps and movement. But here, of course, with basically infinite flight, they can just go from section to section, just breeze through all this stuff. Uh, Finally getting that lag clip there to get that kit.
What's interesting is before SSJing, there actually was another infinite flight tech. I don't know if anyone even really knows about that because it was, quite a while ago, but there was freeze glitching where you would freeze your other player, and then by essentially doing the tech you do in 5 through 7, like wiggling up and down, you could zap them with this character, Scarecrow, for example, anyone who can mind control. I believe that's how it worked. I think you like zapped them, and then they would just start floating upwards infinitely, and then you could switch characters to get out of it. So that was like the old infinite flight tech, and now we happen to have like the fastest possible tech you could have in this game, essentially.
I mean, it's basically as good as like a lot of games. They have like a debug, like press a button to levitate yourself, and that's basically
Yeah,
what this tech is.
it's like God mode, basically. Yes, Prince is correct me. It's called freeze flying. And actually, the first time I ever saw that was in a Prince run. I do remember that back in the day.
I guess I'm curious, Zach. This is Hero Mini Kit Rush. What is your opinion of the villain side of this game?
Yeah, the problem with Villain that I think a lot of people sort of say is that the levels just feel a lot more dull. Um, I know there's a few people that like Villain story more, but it's pretty unlikely you'd enjoy Villain free play more than Hero free play. Now, Villain, of course, doesn't have boss fights, and I think that's honestly one of the reasons people like Hero free play more. There's a lot less, it's a lot more just SSJing line to line. And I think in part that's just because the villain levels are designed a little bit lazily compared to the hero levels. You just get a lot more going on, and the mini kits are more well designed. But we see a cool PCC here that you normally wouldn't see. He's gonna have to do it again because he accidentally went in bounds. Up
Oh, yeah,
warps to stay. Ooh, this is
you have to do like a whole bunch of these clips here because he now has to get up on top of that bridge there. So he's gonna have to try to.
here we go.
Yeah, there it is.
And that's a big time save. But yeah, that's what I was talking about with this level's pretty cool. I think any vehicle level where you can do a tech to clip out of bounds is automatically going to be pretty cool in my eyes. But yeah, like you said, I mean, he's going to have to do a lot of these.
Yeah, I love also the developers in this level. They had to think of a solution to how do we gate the mini kits based off of the characters, and they just have these floor pads. Like
Yeah,
you have
it's
to be
like
the
just
Joker
be the
car.
character, and you'll get the mini kit.
Which is another interesting thing about this game in comparison to like something like TCS is that like all the like the villain characters and like the like hero characters have like their own vehicle. Like there's like a whole bunch of them.
That's true.
As opposed to like the 5 TIE fighter variants you might have in
Right.
like TCS. It's more
Yeah.
interesting.
You get Anakin's speeder. That's
Yeah.
about it. Yeah, so it is cool. this game just generally has a lot of personality. This personally was my favorite Lego game growing up. I'm sure there's quite a few people who agree. And I think it was just because of all the characters, all the villains specifically. It's really cool to play as all the villains and just like walk around in the Batcave with all the characters. So yeah, that's why I think free play is so cool in this game. Okay, they did mess up their character management. They do need player 1 to be Robin so that he can switch to. Is it? I think it's Penguin Minion. Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
So
there.
I think it's actually the first time we're going to see this in the run, but it's actually really cool. And yeah, 1-4 specifically, you need the Penguin Minion to hit a transition. I can't really explain exactly why. It has something to do with the fact that his hitbox is extremely small. And so it lets you hit a transition that normally you would. I don't know if you would walk over it, walk through it, or walk past it, but either way, Penguin Minion allows you to hit transition that other characters just can't by slowly walking into it. We saw that one kit there on the left. And we started some carrots.
Yeah, they really love carrots. Like that's a really common one that they pick for those like multi-part mini kits. I think there's a bunch of those ones in TCS as well.
Well, it makes sense, now we're in a garden. We're in Poison Ivy's lair. But I guess why is she growing carrots, right? Like, well, I guess maybe she's not. Would you consider carrots a weed in this game? Because they just keep
Um,
popping up.
yeah, I don't know to be honest. Like, didn't they show up in like the penguin level also? Like,
They did. See, look, there's another one right there. But it's like, Batman and Robin are creating these carrots out of nowhere. And Penguin Minion, you see, we put Penguin Minion to use there. He's able to just hit that transition, which I think is super cool.
yeah,
But
it's
I think we're
always
actually
fun.
going to see. Oh, sorry for
No, go
interrupting
ahead.
there, but we're going to see something really interesting in the next room. I'm not fully sure what strat they're going to do here, but we'll see in a second. Okay, so they're not. Yeah, so the gameplay will speak for itself essentially, but it's going to start off by getting the 8th kit over here and the 9th kit here, but now he has to go get the 10th kit, and he's actually going to run back to the start of the room so that he can do an out of bounds here by up warping, and that'll allow him to SSJ over the ceiling, which you do need to reload the room essentially to do that, so that
Yeah,
the
I think
goons
it
are
like
not hitting
changes
you.
the collision slightly or something. I
Yeah,
forgot.
so there you go. It's a cool go backwards to go forwards moment that you don't usually get in free play categories. And this
Like
is
we're
our
actually,
last level, right?
yeah, I think we're just about nearing the end of the run here with 1-5. The face off.
And I know Scynor mentioned they're going to do a strat that they haven't. That's at least not in solo, I think. Honestly, we're going to be finding out what strat they're doing here, just like you guys are. So I guess we'll have to see. But the first minikit they're both going to contribute to. Both Scynor and Tfresh are going to stand on top of these poles. Just kind of an odd mechanic, but you don't really get to see stuff like this in Lego games, like a whack-a-mole minikit, essentially.
Luckily, they don't require like you to press down all of them. Otherwise, they
Yeah,
would have
yeah,
lost a
because
lot of
that
time.
that would be well, it wouldn't have worked in that situation, I guess.
Yeah.
But the bank van will be able to drive over these metal objects. This is just a mechanic in this game. Don't really know how they figured that works, but I guess it just does.
Pretty big car, so I guess.
Yeah. But you can't shoot it with bullets. So it's like maybe the car has some sort of explosive property.
At least one of the faster examples of that, like use a vehicle to hit X objects sort of thing.
Yes, yes, for sure. And I think technically you actually don't need a vehicle to do it. It's a lot slower to place down 100 bombs.
Yeah, yeah.
And so as he opens this revolving door, he will SSJ up to the top of this room so that he can end it. You see this red grate here, that needs to be broken so that he can go and hit the transition.
Now, normally, the goo would be a problem here, but I think
Well, it was, I guess.
Oh,
There you go. Well, that shows you exactly how that works.
well, yeah, yeah. They're not supposed to die there, but yeah, normally the
Tfresh has
direct.
also died in the goo now. So, I mean, they were just trying to demonstrate,
Yeah.
why the goo is a problem.
Well, perhaps I had a little too much confidence there, but here Scynor is going to be flying all the way over to this next section of the level. It is interesting how, like, with these like Batman levels, like how many like different like sub rooms they put all on the same map.
Yeah, they like to do a lot of huge maps, and I think that's why this game is a little more prone to crashing than some other Grunt% games.
Yeah, but they skip like the whole section, I think, with like the sliding floor thing,
Mm-hmm.
and they just go directly to this fight in the bank vault here, which obviously they're not gonna do. They're just gonna get these final couple mini kits here.
Well, it looks like they missed one.
Oh,
Or is that time? Because it said 8 out of 10. I'm assuming they missed one. If that is time, that was like a 49-20 something. But I expect them to. Okay, I guess they were done. Maybe they grabbed them both at the same time. Oh
yeah,
yeah, they
there it
did.
is. That's
Okay,
50 out of
sorry, that's
50 right there.
bad information on my end. I honestly couldn't tell. Okay, well, it was like a 49-25. That is world record by about 15 minutes or 20 minutes actually. So congratulations, Tfresh and Scynor. They may have actually beaten solo record, but it's hard to tell because they weren't loadless.
And consider the fact that you had to like re-enter a level. This could go even lower.
Yeah, so it would be cool to see them run this in the future, but really cool showcase by Scynor and Tfresh. Yeah, apologies for saying that they missed together. I didn't even know that they would grab those both at the exact same time, but there you go. That's 150 mini kits collected in the hero version of this game. Maybe at some point we'll see villain, maybe next year. But yeah, thanks so much, Scynor and Tfresh. And make sure you guys don't forget to donate to the TCS free play incentive. I don't know if we've quite hit it yet, but I assume we're close. That's going to be starting in just a few minutes. That'll be a Saber run, so stay tuned for that. I'll be back in commentary. I'm looking forward to it. Maybe we'll see all 12 red bricks.
All right. Yeah, good stuff. GG's to the runners there, getting a nice another recce to add to the collection for LEGOthon, and thanks to Zach and P53 for being on comms for that one. As you were saying, Zach, we do still have $23 left before we get the final red brick in the incentive for LEGO Star Wars free play, but we do have time during the run where you can donate for that, but the sooner that donation is in, the better. And of course, the more you'll be supporting Extra Life, which is our charity for this year. We are going to go into a quick break now, and then we will be back with some LEGO Star Wars after the break.